Another year has come and gone, and let's be real, 2020 wasn't exactly great. It was a year filled with disease, death, funky mode, delayed weddings, and Chicken Shoot getting a Switch port. But now that we're almost done with this dreadful year, I think it's time we take a look back at one of the few good things to happen throughout it. The games! Now normally at the end of the year, YouTubers and other such internet people who like to talk about video games will try to determine what the game of the year was. So to say, that's what game that came out in the past year really defined it. But I don't think that really reflects this past year in gaming for me. A lot of the games I played in 2020 didn't come out this year. And thanks in part to having to stay home for so much of 2020, a lot of the games I did play, I played while hanging out with friends via Skype and Discord. As such, this is Stuff We Play, home of everything weird and retro. And I'm Jamie, and joining me today are Elliot, who's a games journalist and also my fiance, Trey, who's a pro video editor and also a GameCube aficionado, and Jazzie, a talented indie dev and also my co-host over on the Speedrun podcast. Today's video, 2420, the 20 best games we played in 2020.
Hey everyone, my name is Jazzie and I'm new to the channel, so new that my talk sprites don't have lines, or color, or hair. But you may recognize my voice from the Speedrun podcast I do with Jamie, and these are the games that defined my 2020. The first game I want to talk about is Path of Exile. It's an action RPG made by a bunch of longtime fans of the Diablo franchise. It's super grindy, it has multiplayer, but it also is a really, really great solo experience, which for someone like me, who's an introvert, even online in like online role-playing games, it's really great because I'm an introvert and socializing is sometimes scary. So it's really great to just play it, turn off my brain, listen to an audiobook, catch up on my YouTube subscriptions, and just zone out and get some nice loot. It is free to play. It's on Steam and it has its own standalone client. It's coming out on Mac really soon. And it monetizes with a really clear, really fair microtransaction system that is literally called microtransactions. They don't mess around. They say exactly what it is. So yeah, Path of Exile.
There's like an intro. You can just you can cut to that. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Cooking Mama 4. Since we've all been pretty cooped up in our homes due to the current state of the world, I've been really getting into a lot of cooking, and a game that's really helped me with that is Cooking Mama 4 Kitchen Magic on the 3DS of all things. I got really into this game, one sec, okay. I don't know if you, okay. I've completed gold medal status on on all the recipes. All these recipes, gold medals. All throughout, 100% completion on Cooking Mama 4. That's how much Cooking Mama I have played. Like a lot of it. Cooking Mama, in my opinion, is very well suited for the 3DS lineup. The gyro controls mixed with the stylus and touchscreen is a really great fit. With the Wii, not so much in my opinion. The Wii controls are very hit or miss. And I feel like on the 3DS, it's just a very simple, straight-to-the-point game with a lot of fun to be had. You don't have to 100% the game like I did and be completely insane. It's all about just trial and error, and you can just go through a recipe, you pick one, and it actually does teach you some very important kitchen skills. Like, I actually learned a better way to cut an onion, of all things, when playing Cooking Mama. They show you in the game, and when I went to cut an onion the next time I was cooking, I used the Cooking Mama method, and it was way easier. It was just a way better experience. After that, as well as being just a fun mini game collection, it's also like an actual learning tool to a certain extent, or at least can introduce you to some dishes that you might not have heard of before. I've also used it as just a recipe book of sorts. All considered, I just think Cooking Mama 4 Kitchen Magic is, I would say, almost the pinnacle of the Cooking Mama games. I haven't played the new one on Switch yet because of it being like not available, sort of, I think. I don't know what the drama with that is, but in my opinion, that one on the 3DS, great title, and I highly recommend it.
Hey everyone, Elliot here, and today I will be telling you about the top 5 games that made 2020 for me. Starting off, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild blew my mind. It's absolutely phenomenal. I think I've got over 100 hours in it now. I beat it finally a few days ago, which was my goal of beating it before 2020 was up. I started it in July, and it is now late December.
The first game I would like to talk about today is Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise for PlayStation 4. Now this game is a few years old, but that doesn't really matter in the context of this video. I know some of y'all may realize that this video is very much so inspired in style by a similar video done by My Life in Gaming at the end of 2019, but one of the video games I learned about in their video was Fist of the North Star Lost Paradise, and this is a game made by the same devs who made the Yakuza series. Yes, Sega's one big series that isn't Sonic. Now the thing about Lost Paradise is that it plays almost exactly like a Yakuza game. From the exploration to the combat to the plethora of minigames, and yes, even unlockable old school Sega arcade games. I had one friend say that this was the worst of the Yakuza games, but since playing the likes of Kiwami and Zero, I think it's just as good as them. Also, in a weird twist, the North American version here is better than the Japanese version, because it is significantly bloodier. Oh, and you can drive around a dune buggy with the soundtrack to Super Monkey Ball playing in the background. What's not to love here?
The second game I want to talk about isn't as much of a game as it is an online chat room where you can build stuff, and that's Second Life. It's been around since 2003, and I have been playing it for a very long time because I am very old. I've been on Second Life since 2010 when it was huge in the furry community, and to a degree it still is, alongside its contemporaries like VR Chat and other programs like that, and IMVU, just to name a couple. Before Funky Mode, this is how I socialized with my friends in Australia, Canada, Ireland, etc. But with Funky Mode and there not being any conventions, games like Second Life are really great because you don't just get to hear your friends' voices, but you also get to see a three-dimensional representation of themselves, of how they truly present. And that's really, really cool. It helps bridge the gap between continents and Funky Mode and everything.
Next up, let's go Twilight Princess. Why not? Throughout the year, I've also had a lot of extra time to do things that I wouldn't normally have gotten around to. One of them being I actually went out and got a replacement screen for my broken Wii U gamepad. And after I spent an entire day figuring out how to take it apart and put it back together. Also, side note, did you guys know that the Wii U gamepad doesn't need all the screws? You can lose a couple along the way. After completing the arduous process of fixing my Wii U gamepad, the first thing, and I mean the absolute first thing I did, was download Twilight Princess HD. Twilight Princess is the only 3D Zelda game that I had never played up until that point, and it was just a really cool experience to have. Cool isn't the right word. Twilight Princess was a very unique experience in the Zelda franchise for me. Normally, Zelda games have a very cutesy undertone or are just overall pretty kid-friendly. This being one of the only, if not the only, T-rated Zelda game, the whole tone of the game was much different, and I was 100% there for it. It was very cool. I loved the whole Twilight Zone, and I thought being a wolf would be really annoying, and kind of was. The story overall was one of my favorite Zelda stories, or at least extensions of it, since they're all kind of the same, give or take a few key elements. And Midna was the only Zelda partner that I didn't find incredibly annoying. Just a really cool experience, and I would highly recommend it.
The next game I'm going to talk about is Animal Crossing New Horizons, which definitely I feel like is everybody's like 2020 Game of the Year thing. I had a lot of fun with it. I got my copy really late into the year, so like by the time I really started playing it, everybody else had died off. And, you know, it was really great. I played it for a while. I haven't touched it in 3 months. But oh well, you know, maybe I'll pick it back up someday.
The next game I would like to talk about is easily my favorite game on the PlayStation 5 so far, and that is Bugsnax. Now this game, full disclosure, is also on PS4, PC, and even Mac, I think? It was also PlayStation Plus's free game for November for PS5 owners, so that helped as well, but I think this is one worth paying money for. Imagine a Pokemon game that focuses just on the catching aspect and then plays like Pokemon Snap. Except instead of being an on-rails shooter, imagine like a first-person 3D platformer shooter thing, where you have different tools you can use to catch all the Bugsnax creatures. The game world is lively, and though graphically speaking it's definitely not pushing the PS5 to its limits, it's colorful and charming, and you have such wonderful creatures as Bunger, Scoopy Banoopy, Big Bopsicle, and even Shy Weenie Worm. Why is Weenie Worm so shy? That Weenie Worm just needs some lovin'. This game is wonderful. I absolutely love it. The fact that there are no fewer than 5 canonically queer characters also makes me, as a queer gamer, very, very happy. Ew, I just called myself a gamer. But regardless, Bugsnax is not one to be missed, and is definitely another game that helped make my 2020 tolerable.
Game number 3 is none other than Among Us, which is everyone's favorite multiplayer experience of 2020. And I know that I say Among Us strangely, but bear with me, because I have a really weird Ohio accent. So at the Game Awards, this is one of the few games that took home an award that wasn't this. Specifically for Best Mobile and Best Multiplayer. It has super stylized graphics, low system impact, and offers just endless hilarity and fun. And I'm saying this as if you don't already know what Among Us is, because it has been literally all over the YouTube and like gamer culture ecosystems. I like to play a custom game mode where the imposter vision is all the way down, crewmate vision is all the way up, and there's no kill cooldown and there's no reports. So it turns into like a really scary hide and seek sort of situation. It's super fun. Definitely recommend it.
Another game I got to play this year was Paper Mario: The ThousandYear Door. I've heard a lot of good things about it. My friends have been telling me that you gotta play The ThousandYear Door, it's a good game. So I finally did. I hunkered down, I sat myself on the couch, and I played through that game. And I'm gonna say it, pretty controversial opinion, but that it is a really good game. I really loved all the characters, and I had just gotten off of playing The Origami King as my first Paper Mario. So going right to that one, vast improvement. I really liked The Origami King, but this one just kind of blew it out of the water for me. The combat was really fun. There's even little tiny things you can do with the combat, where you can get these stylish moves on top of just pulling off like an excellent attack. And it just adds this whole other layer of complexity that I couldn't even master in my first playthrough. Not to mention that there's secret partners you can get, and just badges all over the place you can get, and having to choose on each level whether to level up your battle points, your health points, or your flower points is very cool. There's so much extra depth to the game that just makes it so replayable, and you can have a different experience each time. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Titled Goose Game, which I actually got like a year ago. I got it December 2019. This year alone I have I think 200 hours in it. I just really love being an asshole goose and just running around and like honking at people. I don't know, just Goose Game hits different, you know.
The next title I'd like to talk about today is easily one of the best indie games to have come out in the past decade, and that's Celeste. And I swear, I'm putting this one here because I legitimately adore this game. It's not just here because the actual Mount Celeste is only 2.5 hours from my house in real life. This game is stunning, and it's a hard-as-nails platformer. And as a fan of platformers, I am very happy with how Celeste operates, but also Madeline's journey, both physically and emotionally. is just gripping. The writing here and the character development is so incredibly solid, and though the game will continuously punch you in the gut, you will keep coming back for more, because it is so well designed that every single death that happens here feels like it's your fault, not the game's. It's well designed, it's beautiful, it has a stunning soundtrack, and again, it has more actually good queer representation in gaming. I love this title. It is so good, and it is an absolute must-play on any system that it's out on.
The fourth game that I spent a lot of time in this year is Ultima Online. It originally launched in 1997 and in many regards is the first true MMORPG in a modern sense. There were many before it and there were many that came after it, but many hail UO as the first true realization of an MMO. It's still playable in 2020 and recently added a free-to-play option after years of us begging EA. Most hardcore players play on what's called free shards or private servers because they don't like what EA did to the game, but these private servers are generally left alone by the company and as a result are filled with drama and infighting, and it can get pretty ugly. There isn't as much video or guide content out there as there is for bigger games like RuneScape or WoW, and that leaves a space for if you want to make content, there you go. Lots of veteran players are still in the game for years and are super welcoming to newbies if you want to try it out.
Another game I played this year was Considerate. Considerate is a very different game from anything I've actually ever played. With the other ones I've talked about, they've all had the same kind of, this is a video game feel. Considerate doesn't really feel like a video game to me. It's very weird. The concept is that they present you with a bunch of scenarios and you have to consider it. You'll be sitting on a bus and there's someone who wants to sit on the bus. Do you move over? Do you stand up? Or do you just stay there and just, be overall an awful person? Whatever you do, it doesn't actually affect the game at all. No, nothing. It just says, yeah, that's one way to do it. You want to do what makes you win, but there isn't anything that makes you win. So it's I don't think I can explain it proper. I don't think I can explain it well enough to a point. I can only explain the game so much. I got it for $2 on the Switch eShop. So, and that's Canadian dollars. So if you're in the US, it's probably absolutely nothing. So I would highly just pick it up, I would say just pick it up. Honestly, I would just get it.
Game number 4 is Minecraft, which I have 250 hours in. Yeah, I have a lot of hours in Minecraft, just because I do play it with friends and family. It's my go-to game at the start of the pandemic, just so Jamie and I could hang out together IRL, but not really. Minecraft is just one of those games, I turn it on and I go, great, I'm gonna go strip mine, and then I build ridiculous things in creative instead of playing the game.
The next title I would like to talk about is by far the oldest game we're talking about today, and that is Anachronics, a cyberpunk-style RPG for PCs. Except, a good one. This is a game by the same team that made Daikatana. Yikes! But it's also the same team that would later go on to make Deus Ex. Imagine a game that looks like Blade Runner, that plays like Dragon Quest, and this is an RPG that deals with topics such as the life and death of universes. It's incredible. The scope is fantastic, and this game expertly combines a bunch of ideas that just should not work well together. Also, I got it on sale for $1.38 on Steam, so it's an absolute must-buy at that price.
The last game on my list is Satisfactory. It's an early access title using the Unreal Engine that I picked up on Steam this summer when it was just releasing. And I love this game. I described it to Jamie as Minecraft, but the goal is to create a fully automated factory with things that aren't cubes. You explore this landscape to track down resources and use conveyor belts to send them back to your base so you can build bigger stuff and go farther out, etc. It's really great, and it has multiplayer. Players have made some truly incredible things in the game's official subreddit, so please go check it out and support the devs. it's a super fun, lighthearted experience. Lots of humor and stuff in there. And I can't say enough good things about it. Definitely check out Satisfactory.
The last game that I played this year, or at least I'm going to talk about here in this video, is Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team DX. Pretty long title. Actually, I had to read it off my second monitor here. But it's one of the remakes of the Game Boy Advance and companion DS game. Overall, I wouldn't say it was the best game that I played, but it brought this sense of comfort that I think everyone really needs from time to time. The game is just so soft and lovey-dovey in this way that I just personally love it. It's cute. The art style is amazing. The gameplay is nothing spectacular. I personally didn't care much for it, but I still wanted to play it just to see the story progress and all of that, all the stuff around it. It's just more of a feel-good game for me rather than I want to be gaming right now, if that makes any sense. It's more of a I need like a feel-good time. I wouldn't consider it if you're not into Mystery Dungeon, like the dungeon crawler, or you're not like a big Pokemon fan. I probably wouldn't pick it up, honestly. But if you like Pokemon, if you like stuff that's cute, and you just want to have a good time, I would recommend it. There's a little personality quiz at the beginning, and if you're one of those, you really like BuzzFeed quizzes, what can I say? This is a game for you.
Game number 5 is Room in the Night Sky, which I talk about a lot, and it's basically Superman 64 if Superman was a magical girl, and it's just as bad. But that's okay. Games are allowed to be bad.
Final game I would like to talk about today is a game that, controversially I'm sure, I'm calling my game of the year. And that, of course, is Streets of Rage 4. Now, usually when I hear about a new entry in a classic gaming franchise, I shudder a little bit. These types of games are usually very hit or miss. Looking at you, new Battletoads. But Streets of Rage 4 somehow didn't just manage to be my favorite game that I've played this year. I've beaten it more times than I can count already. But it's my favorite game in the entire Streets of Rage franchise. And I say that as someone who's made it very clear that Streets of Rage 2 is their favorite game on the Sega Genesis. Between an incredible soundtrack, beautiful graphics, and new systems such as a combo system that really just feels really good, I love all of the new music, whether it be by Exile Middleton, Olivier Derivier, or even Yuzo Koshiro, who is just fantastic as always. I played it through multiple times on Game Pass and then went out and bought the physical limited run game Switch version. But yeah, Streets of Rage 4 is my game of the year. This isn't just an homage to classic beat-em-ups, but is a great new entry in a classic series that absolutely has an identity of its own and shines wonderfully. And also, Adam's a badass, and just, I would totally buy a poster of this dude just beating up some baddies. He's so cool, one of my favorite video game characters ever after his appearance in this game. So with that, even though we each only got 5 games, I think we've covered a huge variety of titles today. Everything from classic RPGs to modern life simulators to even new modern additions to classic franchises. Now, there are 2 additional games I'd like to mention here that, after much thought, I left off the 5 titles I chose for this list. That's because I should mention each of the 5 games we each chose were chosen independently from one another. The only criteria is that we had to have no duplicates, and that every game chosen were in fact games that we each played throughout 2020. Now, these 2 games that I'd like to mention as runner-ups are Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered and Cuphead. Crystal Chronicles Remastered is a really fun little co-op RPG that's a remake of the original Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube. While there is no couch co-op in this remaster, there is crossplay between the PS4, Switch, and mobile versions. From my experiences, the online co-op actually works really well. I mentioned this here because while not in the top 5 best games I've played in this past year, it's a game I saw get a lot of hate at launch, despite the fact that I absolutely loved it. And finally, as a second runner-up, I need to mention Cuphead. Studio MDHR's masterpiece of a run and gun released a few years back and is now available on PC, Mac, Xbox, and even the Nintendo Switch. No matter how you play it though, this is a great tough as nail title with a gorgeous art style and an absolutely stunning soundtrack. Even if this gameplay doesn't look like your cup of tea, if you enjoy big band style music, you should absolutely consider not just listening to this OST, but perhaps picking up a physical copy of it. Also, it's one of the few games my 7-year-old dad adores. Now, my dad does not play a lot of games, which means that when he comes to me saying how much he loves a title, I know it's going to be great. Seriously, Dad, your taste is impeccable, and thank you for giving me a love of Cuphead. Seriously, if it weren't for your love of this soundtrack and just you telling me how great this game was, I would have never tried it out. So on that note, I would like to thank all 3 of my co-hosts for joining me in today's video. You can find their social locations right here. This video was also made possible in part by our Patreon patrons and our YouTube channel members, whose names you're seeing on screen right now. Their support means a ton, especially right now, and if you'd like to support me through those platforms and get perks such as getting your name in the credits of videos, getting some exclusive content, Discord perks, and even early podcast episodes, then you can find links to those platforms in the description down below. In addition, if you've enjoyed this video, then definitely subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this. Said content is even coming out more and more regularly now, thanks in part to current events, just keeping me at home more than I previously was. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful and safe holidays, no matter what you celebrate, and that your 2021 has a great start. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Stay classy, and I'll see you next time.